Welcome back to another glorious and magical lesson of Algebra 1, brought to you by the Party Dog wrapping paper. I am Mr. Thompson and will be instructing you today. So, as we go over lesson 9-5, I want you guys to open up the lesson on Canvas, get out your notebook paper, okay, pen, pencil, whatever you guys are going to work with, because you guys really should be writing some of this stuff out. So, as always, let's start with our notes. These are some important things that you need to go over and know prior to doing this lesson. Now, yes, there are only about 4 problems on this lesson, but it covers a wide variety of concepts, and they're very important, and most of these concepts carry over to your later classes, especially Algebra 2. So learn it now so you don't have to learn it later. So, the first thing we're going to be covering is this thing called the zero property. What does that actually mean? When we use the zero property, we're finding the x value when y equals 0. Hence why it's called zero property. Now, this name comes from lesson 9-4 when we solved by graphing. No, we do not need to graph. Don't worry, we're done with that business for now. Okay? So, it sounds complicated. There's a very simple way to do this, so please pay attention. And here we go. Most of your problems are going to look like this. Okay? Y is equal to 0. That's why we have the zero property. And then we have these 2 sets of parentheses. Now, what do we need to do? We need to ask ourselves, what number can x be to make each set of parentheses equal to 0? So what can I plug in here to make this side 0? What can I plug in here to make this side 0? Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is find out x values so that we turn one thing into a 0 and then multiply it to the other side. But if one thing is 0, 0 times anything is 0. So that is the fundamentals of why we're doing what we're doing. We're essentially cheating and finding where it crosses the x-axis without graphing. Okay, now, it sounds complicated. It really is not. What you do is you set this side equal to 0 and solve, and you set this side equal to 0 and solve. So you're essentially doing 2 pre-algebra problems in one go. So x plus 3 equals 0. I drop the parentheses. X plus 3 equals 0. The opposite of a positive 3 is a negative 3. If I subtract 3 to one side, I better subtract 3 to the other side. That cancels that. I bring my x down, my equal sign down. 0 minus 3 is minus 3. Same thing with this side. Drop the parentheses. Subtract 2 on both sides. X equals negative 2. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. So what are my answers? Negative 3 and negative 2. So our answers are x equals negative 3 and x equals negative 2. All right, so this is basically going to be the first whole part of the lesson and your practices. All right, now you're going to have some more unique problems coming your way. So the only difference is you will need to factor. You are going to have to remember how to factor on these problems. So again, I will go over factoring right now, but I am going a little bit quick. So if you get lost with the factoring, you can always go back to the previous lessons and look at the examples. Or you can email me and I'll teach you how to factor again. No big deal. So this is number 3 from your homework, or from this lesson, okay? Just double checking. This is number 3, so I will show you here, and then we will go on. So, x squared minus 8x minus 48. If this is the problem that you have, we need to factor this. How do we factor this? What numbers multiply to a negative 48? That sign is important. That adds to a negative 8. That sign is also important. So what multiplies to a negative 48? That adds to a negative 8. So right here, I broke down my little chart. Multiplies to a negative 48. Well, negative 1 and positive 48 multiply to that, but they only add to 47, so that one doesn't work. 2 times negative 24 is negative 48, but they add to negative 22, not negative 8. That one doesn't work. Negative 4 and positive 12 equal a positive 8. Close, but we're looking for a negative 8. And finally, 4 and negative 12 multiply to a negative 48 and add to a negative 8. So those are the ones we want. So we put in x plus 4, positive 4, x minus 12 for this negative 12. And then we do the same thing we did right here. We set each side equal to 0. I subtracted 4 from both sides. I added 12 to both sides. Okay, we'll go over this again, this problem specifically, when we get to number 3. So let's move on to our questions. So I hope you guys are looking at Canvas, looking at number 1. Okay, there are about 7 answers to choose from. How many answers are we really expecting? Well, how many parentheses do you have? I have 2 sets of parentheses. So I should be expecting about 2 answers. Okay? So let's ask ourselves, what will make these 0? So set them equal to 0. So I have x plus 7 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. So if I want to get x by itself, what's the opposite of a positive 7? Negative 7. What I do to one side, I need to do to the other. That cancels that. And x equals 0 minus 7, so x equals negative 7. Moving on to this side. What's the opposite of a negative 4? A positive 4. What I do to one side, I better do to the other side. Bring my x down, that cancels that, brought my equal sign down. 0 plus 4 is 4. So what are my 2 answers that I need to click? I need to click negative 7 and positive 4. So I hope that one was really clear. And now as we go here. Now, we get a little bit more complex as we go. Not more difficult, just a little bit more steps. So, same exact steps so far. We need to set this equal to 0 and this equal to 0. And we need to solve. So, what's stopping y from being by itself? I see this 3 and this negative 5. We always start with getting rid of the plus or minus stuff. So let's get rid of this negative 5. The opposite of a negative 5 is a positive 5. What I do to one side, I need to do to the other side. That cancels that. And what am I left with? Bring my 3y down. Bring my equal sign down. 0 plus 5 is 5. What is stopping y from being by itself? 3. What is it doing to y? Multiplying. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. What I do to one side, I need to do to the other. So 3 will take out 3 on this side. Can we simplify this fraction? No. Oh my gosh, we're stuck with, it's okay. We're done. We have y equals 5 over 3. We don't need to do anything else. We're good with that. Now we need to move on to this side. This is the easier side. It's the opposite of a negative 2, positive 2. What I do to one side, I need to do the other. That will take out that. Bring my y down, bring my equal sign down. 0 plus 2 is 2, or positive 2. So we have y equals 5/3 and y equals positive 2. All right, moving on to number 3. This is the one we covered in the notes, so yes, you already should know the answer, but I want you guys to try to fill in, take a second, take 5 seconds, write down what I wrote, and I want you to try to fill in the blanks that I left. So I want you guys to try to solve this to the best of your ability. Again, I kind of went over how to factor already, but more steps are over here. So I'm going to give you guys 5 seconds. If you've already done it, you're already good. You can skip ahead 5 seconds in the video, or you can just listen to me ramble on while you guys write. All right. So here we go. Step 1. What letter are we dealing with? X. So I write X in my 2 parentheses. Step 2. What multiplies to a negative 48 that adds to a negative 8? So I have my factor tree here. Again, see the notes. I already did this. So what multiplies to a negative 48 that adds to a negative 8, positive 4, and negative 12. So I do positive 4 and negative 12. And that's why these signs are very important to remember, so that we know where to add our pluses and minuses. Now, we solved this one just like we solved these ones, right? In fact, it's more like this one in the fact that it has less steps. So set this equal to 0, set this equal to 0. So we have x plus 4 equals 0 and x minus 12 equals 0. What's the opposite of a positive 4? A negative 4. What I do to one side, I need to do to the other side. That cancels that. I brought my x down and my equal sign down. What is 0 minus 4? If you have 0 and you go that way 4 units, you're going to land at negative 4. This negative 12 is stopping x from being by itself, so I need a positive 12 to take them out. What I do to one side, I do to the other. I brought my x down. This cancels. Brought my equal sign down. 0 plus 12. If you have $0 and your friend gives you $12, you now have, you guessed it, $12. And your two answers are negative 4 and positive 12. And be careful, they do have a positive 4 as an answer choice. So just be careful with your pluses and minuses. It is only a negative 4 and a positive 12. Okay, moving on to our final problem. Now, if you've already looked ahead and did your problem, I want to show you guys something. I attempted to do this problem prior to this lesson, and I got it completely wrong. Okay, completely wrong. So I just want you guys to know that even me as a teacher gets these problems incorrect sometimes. Okay, so this one is a little bit more complex. So let me break it down very clearly to you. Okay, so in the directions, it says, suppose that a box has a base with a width of x, a length of x plus 1, and a height of 2. It is cut from a rectangular sheet of material with an area of 182 inches squared. Find the dimensions of this box. So there are some complex things going on here. It says we have a box that is cut from a rectangular sheet of material, wood, metal, whatever, we don't care. But what they're saying is, hey, you have this big rectangle and we cut it into pieces to make our box. So we cut them into pieces. So after we've cut it up and assembled it, we know that our width is x, our length is x plus 1, and our height is 2. Now, here is the big key. Our height is 2. So if I want to fold this length right here, this length, so that it's x plus 1, but it still has a height of 2, I need to take 2 inches from each side and fold it up. So, excuse my sloppy handwriting here. By knowing this fact, we need to go back to our rectangle, our previous shape that we started with, and see what we're actually working with as far as dimensions go. So, if I have my x plus 1, I needed 2 inches on this side and 2 inches on this side, so that when I fold it or cut it, I can have a 2-inch height to it. Same thing with this. I have my x value, or my width right there, but I also needed an extra 2 inches on both sides, so that when I cut the box and gave it some, the front and the back, it is 2 inches height. So what are the dimensions of the original rectangle? Well, the width is going to be x plus these two sets of 2's. So our width is going to be x plus 4. What is our length going to be? Well, we have to add these 2's together, and we have to combine like terms. So x plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 gives us x plus 5. Now, this is where I made my mistake. I used the wrong dimensions. So if you struggled to get there, that's absolutely okay. I hope that I made it clear as to how to get there now. And it's really just to reinforce your ability to find dimensions and then solve using the zero property. So now we know that the area of the two-dimensional shape is 182. Thompson, where did you get that number? So if you read the directions, it says that the material of the rectangle had 182 inches squared. That was the area of the rectangle. Okay, again, if you were a little bit lost, a three-dimensional shape would have a volume. So we would have something cubed. Two-dimensional shape has an area, so that would be what is squared. They gave us 182 inches squared. So this is related to the rectangle. So how do we find the area of a rectangle? Width times length equals the area. So width times length equals the area. Oh my gosh, Thompson, that looks exactly like the last problems we were doing. Yes, it does. So what do we need to do to find the zero property? Set these equal to 0? Not yet. This right here breaks that problem for us. We're supposed to have 0 here. So if you look back to your notes, we are supposed to have 0 there. Do we have 0 there? No. So we need to put that 182 over here. But we can't do that until we get rid of these parentheses. So what do we need to do? We need to use distribution, right? I don't want you guys calling this FOIL. Use distribution and multiply these out. So our first letter, x times x is x squared. X times 5 is, well, I simplified already. So we have x squared. X times 5 is 5x. 4 times x is 4x. And 4 times 5 is 20. Now, we need to simplify. So this 5x and this 4x are like terms. So if we add those together, since they're both positive, we get 9x. X squared plus 9x plus 20 equals 182. Again, I'm just dropping this 182. And now we have this. Now we're able to bring the 182 onto that side. So what's the opposite of a positive 182? Negative 182. What I do to one side, I need to do to the other. So 182 minus 182 is 0. Bring my equal sign down. 20, positive 20 minus 182 is negative 162. I did it for you guys, so don't worry about that. Don't get caught up on that. 9x I just brought down. X squared I just brought down. Now, this is similar to problem number 3. It equals 0. We need to factor it and then solve. Okay, so how do we factor? Step 1, what letter are we dealing with? X. So put x in each one of your parentheses. Step 2, what multiplies to a negative 162? That will add to a positive 9. So again, it's simple, just trial and error. Find something that multiplies to a negative 162, right? These numbers all multiply to negative 162, but do they add to a positive 9? So negative 1 and positive 162 multiply to negative 162, but add to positive 161, so no, that doesn't work. Negative 2 times 81 is negative 162. Those add to a positive 79, so no, that doesn't work. So here's the one that does work. Negative 9 times 18 will multiply to a negative 162, and negative 9 plus 18 equals positive 9. So yes, these are our factors, and this is what we're going to use. So it doesn't matter which order you put them in. We take our negative 9, put it in one parentheses. We take our positive 18, positive 18. That plus sign is there because we knew this was a positive number. Now we get to the easy part. Now we set each one of these to 0 and we solve. So we have x minus 9 equals 0, and x plus 18 equals 0, and solve. What's stopping x from being by itself? This negative 9. What do we need to do? Add 9. What do I do to one side? I need to do to both sides. Bring my x down. Negative 9, positive 9, cancel. 0 plus 9 is 9. And then what's stopping x from being by itself? Negative 18, or positive 18. How do we kill it? Negative 18. What we do to one side, we do to the other. Bring our x down. This cancels this. Bring our equal sign down. 0 minus 18 is negative 18. Whew. We're done. We made it. Oh, wait. Thompson. These two answers don't match the answer choices that I have on my lesson. Yeah, I'm aware. So, like I've said in previous lessons, is this a real world problem? Yes. So in the real world, is distance ever negative? No. So can I have a negative dimension? No. So this answer, while mathematically correct, is not correct in the real world. So we're not going to use the negative version of the answer. And we are only going to use the positive version of our answer. So what are our dimensions? Now look, our dimensions are these. Remember, from the very start, it said we have width, length, and height. So we need our width times our length times our height. So what is our width? It's just x. What does x equal? 9. So we have 9 inches. What is our length? X plus 1. So what is x? 9. What is 9 plus 1? 10. And then our height, they gave it to us right off the bat, is 2. So this is going to be your answer choice. Again, where did I get this 10? I plugged x in right here. X plus 1 equals our length. So 9 plus 1 is 10. And there's your answer. So this is one of the harder problems that you guys have to deal with. Okay, I hope I was clear with how I explained it. If not, feel free to ask me questions. And again, we all make mistakes, so don't get discouraged if you mess up on these types of problems, okay? So I hope, let me bring back the notes. Take a picture, write them down, do what you want to do with them, okay? I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. I hope it made sense. Go ahead and do the practice and let me know if you have any hiccups or issues, all right? Have a great day.